Hey, all you rad dads out there.
Well, Bryan, thanks for coming on the Rad Dad Show. I'm going to start the way we always do. Who are you?
Well, thanks for having me. I'm Bryan Kienlen. I am, for the purposes of this podcast, a father of two. They're Cora and Layla. Cora is going to be 2 next month. Layla is 3 months behind her. So
Okay.
just getting into the quote unquote terrible twos, which I think Cora's already there. Already there. She's not terrible, but from everything I hear about, just testing boundaries and
Yeah.
just like working with the word no a lot, and I'm just entering that phase basically. Let's see what else. I play bass in the Bouncing Souls, my high school punk band
Right.
of 33, 32 or 3 years now.
Amazing.
Also, yeah, it's crazy. Also punk bass player of the Beach Rats and tattooer and tattoo shop owner. So I'm busy with avoiding real jobs since high school and somehow pulling it off.
Good though. You're living your dream, man. That's amazing. You probably would have never thought 30 years ago you'd still be doing it.
No, I certainly wasn't thinking 30 years ahead back then. I was thinking 5 years ahead would have been outlandish for me. I'm like, I've always kind of been in the moment, what's in front of me, live this moment kind of thing, for better or worse, which of course there's a downside to that as well. But, I just try to savor every moment and be grateful and just live it. So as to not have to live it again in a way, you know what I mean?
Right. Make the most of
juice. Yeah, to just juice everything I can out of all the experiences and maybe hopefully learn something along the way.
That's awesome. So, and you're a dad to 2 little kids. Things must be busy around your house.
Yes. They just that's why I planned this for noon, because we just put them down for their nap.
Yeah.
This is like, I'm probably luckier than most that I've got pretty good sleepers, and they're still napping, and we'll get a solid 2 hours. Nice. Which is of course all the time that you have in your life to get everything done.
Exactly.
Because you can't be like, well, I'm just going to multitask and like take care of my kids and get this other thing done. Like, you just, especially with 2, like you're just correcting them and teaching them and work, like coaching them and keeping them apart and from fighting, and now it's Layla's turn and share, and it's full time. It's 100% full on when they're when we're together, and we've been together for days. Today is I hate to say Columbus Day because it's fucking pretty gross. It's Indigenous Peoples Day. Try to get that, like, trying to launch that into people's psyche.
Right.
But so we're home together today, when we've been home for a few days. Yesterday was my birthday, and the day before was my wife Nicole's birthday. So we always take that 48 hours off as just like one big sort of birthday celebration for ourselves. But it's just been us and the kids, and it's been a lot of rainy weather. So like, kind of like you guys definitely know. I mean, Edmonton, getting kind of housebound
for sure
in inclement weather.
Yeah, it's tough, and with little kids. So happy birthday, by the way.
Thanks.
That's awesome. So yeah, totally get that. Like trying to work around the small amount of time that you have while kids are napping. So I have a 2-year-old as well. She's about to turn 3. So we've kind of been going through that terrible twos. We have an older daughter who's about to turn 6. We didn't see it quite as much with her, but my youngest, oh my God, it's crazy. Like she's pushing every boundary. So yeah, get ready for it. But it's fun too. Like I don't know, like I always look at that as like, as frustrating as it can be sometimes, and I want to pull my hair out sometimes, right? But you see them kind of developing their personality a little bit too, their individuality.
It's so great. It's cool. It's harder, but it's like so much greater too. Just like people have always told me, like, it's funny, you get the same advice over and over and over again from parents, and like, make the most of it. It goes by so fast. That's one, like, you're like, I know. you know, you're just saying the same thing I've heard since before I had kids, like, you know, but it's so true. There's a reason everyone says it. It really does go by so fast. And like, this is such a great age. They're so adorable. And you're like, man, I don't want, like, you almost want to hold on to that. But at the same time, like, the progression is so exciting, you know, like Cora's starting to talk and really put sentences together. And it's like, man, I'm getting it, you know, we're having a conversation. I'm saying things and like, I know you, and same with Layla, like she knows more than she lets on, you know what I mean? She understands everything we're saying. She's not like fully talking yet, but you know, with the exception of words, but not really like piecing it together.
Right.
But they understand, you know, and that's pretty cool. And you know, their mom is a genius, and that's what makes it a lot easier too. Like she takes no shit from me or the girls. So I mean, from the time they could walk, she's like, they'll make a mess and she'll be like, okay, you're gonna pick that up, and like they'll pick it up and then like go throw that away, and the little walk over and throw things away. And it's like, man, it's genius. Like they don't know it's like a shitty chore or something. It's just like, well, this is okay, cool. You know, it's all how you present that. And you know, you're like, and meanwhile you're teaching them like, oh, when you spill something, it kind of sucks because you're the one that's going to clean it up.
Yeah.
You know, she's really good at it, man. She just gets out in front of those kind of problems. And like, I'm learning from her, you know, all the time. And she was the eldest sibling in her family. So she just has that instinct of like, and I was the baby in my family. So like, I'm just also like more of a, you know, laissez-faire, like, guy, you know, just, you know, so it's like almost like, okay, all right, okay. I'll be like playing with Layla, who's climbing up on the ottoman, and you know, and we have this little game where she jumps into my arms, and I'm like, this is fun, you know. And then like mom will come in and be like, they can't stand on that thing, like they're just gonna, she's been doing that, and now she'll just fall over and take a header off the thing and like bounce her head off the piano. And I'm like, oh yeah, right. So like I'm always getting sort of corrected along the way too, because everything's just kind of like, I'm just like, we'll get there, we're just gonna get there the long way, you know. Like I'm just kind of like a different style.
I feel like it's good.
Sense?
Yeah, totally. I feel like it's very similar with my my partner as well. And I feel like there's benefit in having some different styles there too, right? Because you can kind of balance each other out a little bit too. And yeah, it's good to kind of have that. Not that I'm not insinuating that your partner's not fun with the kids or whatever, but you might just have a different approach, right? And they get to see sort of different sides of you and different sides to sort of responsibility, you know, as you're looking at teaching them those sort of skills and those, I guess, those thoughts about, you know, that they're going to use later in life. There's different ways to look at it.
Yeah, as long as like we're pointing at the same thing, you know what I mean? As long as like I'm enforcing the same rules, like so it doesn't turn into good cop, bad cop, and force her into the role of being like the bad cop and I'm the good cop, and that's not, you know what I mean, like that's not fair. So got to even be conscious of that, and like trade roles, and let me be the disciplinarian, and let her be the fun parent. You
can't be the pushover all the time, right?
That too. You can't be a doormat, because especially with kids that age, man, I'm like, and I'm just going into that. So I guess like you're just coming out of the twos, and then there's the three-nager, right? Is that a thing? Like, is it like most people are like, twos weren't bad, threes were bad, you know? So I think it just depends on the individual kid and how you raising them, like,
for sure, and the environment that they're into. Like I said about my older daughter, we didn't sort of have as much trouble with that, I'll say, but like I think some of it too is our attention's just divided now, and so our youngest gets away with way more, and so she can push more boundaries, and you know what I mean? Like it's just the way it is.
I think that happens in all families too. I got away with everything as the baby, you know, and plus it was like three sisters and then me. So they were just like, I don't even know what to do with this kid. Whatever. He's building a ramp. That's great. He's good. It was also back in the day, like when everything was just more, I feel like everything was more chill. Maybe it is up there, but when I was growing up, it was like, when I was growing up, it was like, just be home when it gets dark.
Yep.
And they didn't have to worry about me at all. Like there was even a 6 o'clock whistle in Basking Ridge, the town I grew up. It would be like a whistle, like a fire whistle blew that you could hear all over town. And all the kids were like, okay, that's when we all like go in for dinner.
Oh, crazy.
It's, you know, we had a big yard, where I had built ramps and, just BMX'd and skated on everything. And I was good. Where I live, like, it's just not, we don't really have a yard at all. And you can't just let your kid just like go out of the house, like on their own, like just like unattended, like just go out and be back by dark. Like,
I feel like that's something that's changed over time, right? Like it was the same for me when I was a kid.
Some 70s shit. Like, that was like everything. I've been kind of it's like visibly see the changes. Like bike helmets was something like you'd get made fun of if you're fucking with a bike helmet,
right?
Kid, like, and we were building jumps that were 5 feet tall, like well taller than us. You know what I mean? Like, because it was like my jump's bigger kind of thing.
Yeah,
bigger and bigger and bigger is better. And it was like we were kind of stupid because we didn't understand the whole concept of a tabletop jump with a platform and a landing ramp. So it was just a big jerk off jump where you're going to try to like pull a 360 or just a sick tabletop or whatever. You sure as fuck weren't wearing a helmet,
right. Yeah, now the neighbors are going to call Child and Family Services on you if they see that happening in the backyard.
It's like I guess it's a lot safer now, but maybe is it, or, or is the world less safe? You can't let your kid just go out and play. Like,
well, everything, it's like everything comes with a trade-off, right? Because I think we talked about the independence and stuff. Like, are we sacrificing some of that by kind of helicoptering over our kids all the time? And that's kind of the eternal question.
Right. I'm gonna bring some of that old school, like, sort of freedom, and find your fun and find your way and work it out yourself. Like, not so helicoptery where I can.
Yeah. So my understanding, I've kind of followed you on social media, is your kids are adopted. So we have, all kinds of parents and soon to be parents out there listening. Are you able to talk a little bit about what that journey was like for you guys? My understanding, from personal contacts I have who have gone through that, it's not a super easy process. Like what was that like for you guys?
For a simple man such as myself, the prospect from the outside looked daunting, to say the least, right? Like, huge and terrifying and everything. And I can't say enough good things about the agency that we used. And I think that it all comes down to that. I mean, like, you find a good agency and it changes everything. I mean, everything's in-house. They hold your hand through the whole process. It's just like, it starts with a bunch of paperwork and some money to sort of like get it through the door. You need to, like, here's 20% or whatever, like, you throw them some money and you get all the paperwork done. And then there's a series of sort of background checks and things like that. And then there's home visits, right? So there's 3 home visits where a social worker from the agency comes and, like, walks through your house and sits down with you and all this stuff, and then interviews you together and interviews you individually. But all this stuff is like, they're advocating for us. So, like, they are holding your hand through the process. It's not like you're getting grilled by the fucking FBI or something, right? It's just it's chill, and it's like easy and friendly. And then you finish all that process, and you make this part was weird, but everybody has to do this, right? You make your own profile book.
Okay.
Kind of like a Snapchat
a resume
book,
or
but like, how you can order like an iPhoto or through iPhoto or whatever. Snapfish, like, just like where you just assemble pictures and they print you a book. You make a couple, copies of that, and it also, this part's, it's difficult because it's kind of weird thing to put together and put out there, but it's also sort of easy. You don't have to go too in depth, but you have to have like a paragraph and just cover a few sort of like areas about your life. Like, oh, this is us, like, in our home, like, world. Like, this is us with our dog. Like, we live at the beach. Here we are at the beach. Here we are with our friends. Like, this is dad. Like, this is dad's job. This is a couple pictures of him, like, doing what he does. This is mom at her job. Like, this is what she does. And it's just a few pictures and a blurb, like a paragraph, and you assemble all of that into like this profile book. And that's what the agency uses to try to sort of sell you to birth moms.
Okay.
And so they're also advocating for birth moms. So a pregnant girl will choose an agency and deal with them, and they'll be like, they help birth mom a lot, like whatever her needs are, you know, like if you're in a bind and you need like this, we'll put you in a hotel room and we'll pay for food, and like, and that comes out of like the expectant families money. So it's so they kind of transfer money from like a family like us to like birth mom once we're sort of, that's where some of the money goes to, you know. Adoption's expensive, but you sort of see where it all goes. Like these adoption agencies, they're not getting rich and exploiting expectant families. Like the money, you know, you've got lawyers in house, like multiple lawyers. There's a lot of that stuff that they've got to deal with, and you've got like I said, social workers and like really capable professionals that all work together. It's like a machine, you know. And then like I said, the money is going also for the moms, the birth moms, and they'll furnish them with like, here's 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever of our families, take these home, look through them and see what you think. And then like, so birth mom will pick the parents that they want their baby to go with. And then it's an open, most all adoptions now are an open adoption. Okay. That's another difference from the past. Like, I think adoption, you know, in the 70s and probably 80s too and stuff, like they were all closed adoptions. Like Pete, my best friend Pete from the Souls, is adopted, never met his like birth parents, and doesn't care. He's like, you know, these are my parents. Yeah. And it just never mattered to him. It was just like, whatever. I'm adopted. So
closed meaning once that's done, it's done. There's no connection to
there's no connection. You can't, parents. I don't know if he even could track down his birth parents or not. I don't know back then, you know, but now it's different. It's an open adoption. So you actually sort of make a plan with birth mom. Like, for one thing, you're gonna supply like updates like 3 times a year or 4 times a year for the first 2 years or so. It's like 4 times a year updates, photos, and like basically a page written of like, this is like, Cora's really into like this and she loves to do this with her puppy, and then blah 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 blah, you know, descriptions and like updates, you know. And so that's like a little bit of the work. Yep. But it's kind of cool because you're collecting pictures and you're writing and you're making notes, and this is for birth mom. And you're also like, in a way, creating a life book for this child, which is pretty rad. For sure. You know?
I was just going to say that, like, that's one thing we struggle with ourselves is, you know, we got like the baby book and stuff for both the kids. And with our first daughter, we filled out more than we did with our second daughter. And then you just sort of like, time goes by and you don't make the time to document that stuff.
You're so busy.
What a cool kind of byproduct of that.
So that's like, that's like a little blessing that comes with it, because obviously being as busy as you are as a parent, you're not likely to really keep up with this sort of homework, but we do anyway, because we have to. And then after, I forget offhand, but after like a couple years, it's down to like 1 a year then or something. And then also like you plan based on birth mom and adoptive family's comfort level to meet. And like you'll meet through the agency, like basically in a neutral place. Like the agency will, like, you know, they have a room like this. They furnish a room for this to happen. They facilitate it. And then like you bring your kids and they can meet their birth mom, and you can do that every year. And then you can go. And again, this is something that's individuals create based on their comfort level and what they really want to do and what they're motivated to do. And it's like, you know, we could hit it off and like, we're barbecuing like every summer, 3 times a year, or like whatever, and everything in between to nothing. It could just be nothing based on the, you know, birth mom's comfort level or that kind of thing. So those are all the details, most of the details.
So how, like, in terms of the length of that process, how long did that sort of take for you guys?
Well, if you Google it, you're gonna read something like it's a 2-year process, roughly average, from starting the process to like having a kid. But we got Cora, I think within the first year,
Wow.
really quickly, and then we had Cora. Cora was about 6 or 7 months old when we were like, fuck, we know we want to have a sibling for her. We've got to tell the agency. And like, because it could take years, so we got to tell them. And we told them, and it was like weeks later,
Whoa.
we got a phone call. And they're like, we have a 7-month-old girl that we're trying to place. We think you guys would be fantastic, blah, blah, blah. For like, I was in the studio actually with the beach rats, and I got the phone call. I had to like, I'll be back. And I like went out in my truck and just sat there on the phone and like
Oh
had
my
this
God.
like, FaceTime with the agency, and like, yeah, it's pretty awesome, man. And then, we named them, and, these are little details that people might wonder, how does that work or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, all I could say is that the whole process was really positive, and I can't say enough good things about it, and I recommend it. And I've been asked around here by like people that I meet, clients at the tattoo shop and stuff, that are considering it, and I've like, I always recommend our agency, because I think that it's things seem to go faster with them. This particular agency, because Nicole is so resourceful, she got a list of every adoption agency in New Jersey, and just like went and printed it out and just went down the line, pages of them, and just like crossed off everyone that was like religious, just because we're like, oh, that's closed-minded. We're not like trying to, whatever, thanks, but no thanks. You know what I mean? And we found this agency that had like, it was like a same-sex couple with their kid. And we're like, yes, like these is like an open-minded, progressive. That's more our vibe.
Cool.
And so they're really cool. And like, they kind of weirdly specialize, or I don't know, maybe the majority of their adoptions are like American kids adopted to overseas families.
Okay.
So like,
Interesting.
they've got like, like a Belgian couple who flies in and goes through this entire process, but plus like a flight back and forth from Europe and staying at a whatever Airbnb.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's another step, and it's more money and time, but that gave us the advantage of being a local family. So I think like the birth moms are like, oh man, like, so my kid's going to grow up like nearby, so that's more in reach. So that was an advantage, I think, and perhaps why we got matched so soon.
Yeah, that's really amazing, especially with Layla. Happened so quick.
It
Must
was
have
like
been a total whirlwind.
Yeah, it was like the quickest, easiest thing. And like, I don't know, the universe provides, man. Like in both cases of Cora and Layla, it's the money is like, it's not the kind of money you just have laying around available, but like things just lined up perfectly for us, where like Nicole had sold a house, and she had a house when we got married, like a starter home, and like the value just kept going up and up and up. So she made a shit ton of money selling it, and things like that. Like, everything just kind of lined up, like a good tax rebate and like a good chunk of like royalty money and this and that. Everything just kind of came together in those times where we were able to just pay for it too. So saving money, it's a combination of saving money and having a little happy windfall like that.
Right.
But it's kind of like in the ballpark of 50 grand, just in case. Okay. I'm sure people are wondering. Yeah. It's like, feels outlandish, but it's also within reach if you break it down into like, okay, 10 grand, that's like, I could save that. And like, things just kind of come together, and maybe it's more and less depending on
where you
everyone's
are.
experience is going to be different. New Jersey is not a cheap place, and everything's fucking cheaper when you go west of here.
Right.
So maybe things are become more affordable.
But there's that component of, like in your case, sort of lucked out, things came together. But for, lots of people, there's probably a significant amount of planning that goes into that, right? Saving and planning and and all
Yes,
that.
and if
So
if you think this might be your path, then you start saving. And we
yeah.
also became a licensed family with the foster care system,
Okay.
because you can actually adopt through foster care, or foster to adopt, and there's a few versions of that, and that costs nothing.
Right.
But the wait is, I mean, we've been licensed with them for whatever it's been now, like 3 or 4 years, and never had that phone call, because
Okay.
that whole system is designed to reunite families, like
Right.
kids with their blood relatives. And if it's not going to be mom and dad, then it's going to be any other blood relative. So there's like sort of like, first we try to give mom and dad every chance
Right.
to reunite with the kid, and then if turns out to be an impossibility and the parental rights are terminated, then it's every in-law down the line is getting that phone call. And then it's going to be a foster family that the kid's already familiar with, has been living with a foster family. They would be next in line under every blood relative. And then beneath that is like me and Nicole, who are just like, we want to adopt. Like,
right.
So it's not something that you can bank on as being like a sure thing, or, you know what I mean? But becoming licensed through the foster care system was amazing for new parents. We learned everything, like from the ground up, because there's, to become licensed is you get pretty vetted. You get all the home visits. You get a lot of the same things, but like there are like classes you have to take, before you're actually.
Did you have, like, through that process, have you had some foster children come through your home, or no?
Not yet.
Okay.
And thank God we weren't ready for that. And we just kind of knew that. We knew we couldn't go from like 0 to here's a kid for a year that you're going to give back, or from 0 to like, here's a good 5-year-old, you know what I mean? Like we're learning as we go from 0, so.
That's amazing how, sorry to cut you off. I was just going to say, it's amazing how you can just figure it out though, right? Like,
winging it is a real thing.
Yeah.
It's a real technique. Yeah. And that, now we have the internet, so you can just pretty much Google, and we have like, okay, Google, like we've got the Google Home thing.
Yeah.
So like we could, because you can, sorry, it heard me.
It heard
I'm
you,
in the basement and I've got one down here, but yeah, you could be busy with your hands doing something engaged, and you can ask like a question and get the answer right then and there while you're setting a timer for something and doing, you know what I mean? Like it's a really good tool. And especially since we're trying to like work Spanish into the, speaking Spanish into our home. So you can ask like, how do you say this in Spanish or whatever? It's like great for learning, at least right now, like until Cora can learn how to command it to do, play Elmo 50,000 times, which is what she wants
that's
us
where
to
we're
do.
at for sure. We've got the Alexa
like,
devices.
Elmo. And every now and then I'll be like, all right, fine. Then you ask it to play Elmo, and then you're listening to Elmo for like a half hour.
Yep.
Which it could be worse. It gets worse. I mean, Elmo doesn't bother me. I'm sure there's some kids shit that I'm just like, and Nicole and I are the same way. We're like, fuck kids music, fuck kids shit.
Yep.
So like they're listening to, Motown and reggae, and you're listening to daddy's music and mommy's music.
Yeah, you can do that for sure. We're kind of the same way. We try and stay away from a lot of the stereotypical kids music. There's some good stuff out there. I don't know if you guys have heard of Casper Baby Pants.
No, but that's a pretty funny name.
So that's Chris Ballou. He was the singer of Presidents of the United States of America.
Mm-hmm.
And he started making kids music under the name Casper Baby Pants, put out like 20 albums, and they're pretty good. They're actually pretty good. Cool. If you're looking for kids music. Yeah. We're
going to get there. I know we know it, but we're enjoying like the time before it starts, because we're still no screens. So we're going to see how long we can pull that off. Obviously at least 2 years.
Yep.
But like when we get there, we know it's going to be a thing. Like it'll, helpful learning tool, and like it does stoke them out. Kids music stokes Cora out. Like Elmo, she just dances and romps around, and like it's cool, man. It's educational, it's super entertaining, it stokes them out. So yeah, we can't just like deny them of that because we think it's like corny.
But it's cool when they kind of get stoked on your music too, right? On stuff that you like as well, and you can kind of connect over that. That's awesome.
They've grown up with it, so like, yeah, and that's important to me. Like, I grew up with good music in my, as a child, and in a pretty musical household, and that did wonders for me, and I think it will,
obviously, yeah,
can for anyone. And yeah.
So this is a Rad Dads show. Do you consider yourself a rad dad?
I think I'm pretty rad. I'm not maybe as rad. I'm not like maybe as rad on a skate ramp as I used to be. Like, I'm not rad that way at all really anymore. Which was everything to me as a kid. Getting rad was everything.
Yeah.
On whether it be on my skateboard or my BMX bike. So not so rad that way perhaps anymore, but
so that definition's changed over time for you. So what does it mean now to be a rad dad? What's a rad dad?
Oh man, just pulling it off and keeping that PMA all the time.
Yeah,
pulling it off, and trying to pull it off.
I like that, like just being there, like just getting through. I think that's something that a lot of people you don't kind of give yourself enough credit for, especially in this world where we're exposed to so much outside influence. You can look on Instagram and think, oh, that guy's doing it better than me, or I'm stressed out, like maybe I shouldn't, what's wrong with me as a parent. Like, I think just getting through, it's hard enough as it is, right?
Yeah. You try to compare yourself to perfection, and then of course you're always going to be like disappointed. Like, oh man. But yeah, I think like just loving them so hard, pouring out love all the time. And of course, being a dad, though, that you're right. It's sometimes like maybe not enough credit's given to all the problem solving and all the, like, you're handling shit. There's not going to be any problem because you're going to fix shit all the time. Like, but moms deserve all the glory that they get and more. I mean, shit, right? I'll take being a dad over. I will take being a dad over being a mom. Like, I'm from the time I wake up, I'm on duty, and I'm like just doing things. I do the dishes, but she's preparing the food. Like, I'll take doing the dishes and taking out the trash and doing these. I'm like unskilled labor guy, compared to mom's the planner. You know what I mean? Like, she's
the professional,
she's planning out their outfits. She's like, whoa, like, yeah, I'm not that guy. Their dads probably out there that are doing that job, but like, I know where my weak spots are, and it's like food planning and preparation, and like clothing for my daughter's planning and preparation. Like, mom's just got that handled. Like, outfits.
Yeah, and every
ready to go.
Every family kind of figures out that dynamic, I think, right? Like, whatever that is. I'm the same as you. Like, I can't cook. I'm get nowhere in the kitchen. So I'm with you on that for sure. How
we make up for it? You got to make up for it. It's got to feel equal. You just got to hustle doing all the unskilled shit, but it's all got to get done. You know what I mean? Like, I get them up in the morning, which means like those are some nasty diapers, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're our heads at this point, like, okay, like what? How do we? Because one of them will blast in bed. Like, by morning, that morning diaper bowl of nasty pea soup that it leaked out the diaper, and like, why is like one of them shits in her sleep overnight, the other one doesn't. Like, we're trying to adjust the diet so like if that's not a thing, because we're about to start potty training, so we like, you can't be shitting the bed. You know what I mean? And so when we potty train and diapers are going, like, how do we get that like poop timing right? Like, so those are some of the things that like I jump on, is since I can't plan food and clothing as well, so like I just try to like make up for it by doing like some of the like dirty work, if you will.
Yeah, can't be afraid to get your hands dirty as a dad, that's for sure.
No, man.
Yeah, potty training, that's a whole other thing. I wish I had the answer for you there, but it's so different. We've had two totally different experiences with our kids. So yeah, what I thought I learned from our first daughter totally doesn't apply to our second. So I'm not sure I have any answers for you.
Yeah, again, I think it's an individual deal. But like, I think having like these two being so close in age, like Layla takes after Cora and will learn from Cora. And so Cora, I feel pretty confident that she's gonna like really cruise it and really do well with potty training. And then so like Layla will want to be like her sister.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, they definitely, yeah, they definitely see their sibling. No, I was just saying they see their sibling and they want to be just like them, right? So
yeah, having two is, you know, in a lot of ways it is double the work, but in a lot of ways it cuts down on a lot of like the work of entertainment and enrichment and things like that, because they're learning constantly off of each other. Whereas like if it was just one kid, like you are on stage. It's all you. It's the daddy and mommy show.
For sure.
They got to learn everything from you and be entertained constantly by you. And you just, you know, with each other, you're like, oh, look, they're playing together. Here, just set them up over here. Like, and they're going to learn from each other. They're going to play with each other. Yeah. It's awesome having two.
It's amazing. Yeah. Bryan, did you have any fears about becoming a dad?
Yeah. I got to say, no, because I'm reckless like that. I'm just like, yeah, whatever. That's whatever.
Let's do it.
That's the only thing I haven't done. I'll just bring it on. You know, like that's kind of me. So didn't spend any time being afraid like that of like what's to come. And that's good that I didn't waste any time being afraid, because it was just going to be what it's going to be. And and you're just going to wing it and problem solve the problems in front of you. And then eventually the day will come to an end and you'll get to go to bed. You know, there is that punctuation. It's not a run-on sentence. So it's not so scary. My biggest and only fear is just being such an old ass dad, you know, and my fear is, you know, I want to live as long as a long, healthy life. And that's new for me, because I was always like, whatever, nihilism.
Yeah,
fuck it, you know. And now I'm like, I want to live really long. So like my fear is being like a decrepit, shitty old man when I have teenagers, you know, and I need to like fight off their boyfriends, and you know, but I'm like, my knees hurt.
Yeah.
So those are my fears. Those are perspective. My fears. Like,
so less about sort of becoming a dad, because there's, you know, lots of dads will say, I'm worried I'm not going to know what to do, or, you know, I'm worried about providing for my kids or whatever it is. But you're thinking more about sort of down the line, like, I didn't really care about what I did to my body before, or, you know, how healthy I was or whatever. Just let's go for it. Let's have fun. But now you're thinking about, are you going to be sort of around and available and able to do everything you need to do for your kids as they get older, which for sure is, totally reasonable, that perspective shift. Yeah.
So far so good. Like, yesterday I turned 52, which is like crazy. And, I don't feel obviously anything remotely like a 52-year-old. And I feel like I don't look or act remotely like a 52-year-old. Like I'm at the age where 52-year-olds, like there's a pretty wide like sort of spectrum of like shitty, obese, like saggy, crusty old fuckers at 52. You know what I mean? So like, I need to always be like, and same with like, you know, 60s and 70s, like, here's a fucking rad dad for you. Mark Stern of Youth Brigade / BYO Records, you know, punk legend, Mark Stern, uncle to me. Like my punk uncle to the Bouncing Souls. Just had a baby.
Oh, wow. 60? I didn't know that.
I'm guessing 60, because Sean Stern is 10 years older than me. So Sean is 62. Mark's got to be 60. 61, something like that. Just had a baby. He also has a daughter who's about 20.
Okay.
Madison. I don't know her exact age. So he's an experienced dad, but like a real inspiration, just fearless, and just like, and again, like the Stern brothers, like they don't age, you know, they're right. You know, punk rockers maybe can go either way. Like some punk rockers definitely age, like, you know.
Well, I think there's like something to, I don't know if it's like specific to punk rock, but lots of like musicians and artists that we talk to like kind of are the same, like young at heart. It's that like, I don't want to grow up thing, right? Like
it keeps you young. If you, if you feel that way, and you kind of are, you vibrate that way. I think that just, it's all, you're one being, and I think you just kind of emanate that, and you just are that. So like I'm in that way, like spiritually, or not spiritually, I don't know what, but I'm more of like a 30 something right now, how I feel, you know? So, but that being said, there's still like, biology is still real, and you know, 70, I have to be one of those 70 somethings that like still surfs, you know, and like stays, he just feels young and just is active and like athletic to within reason, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So those are like, that's like my a shift for me. Whereas like I said, I was like the opposite before that. I was like, I just squandering my youth.
Well, you talked about earlier, like not thinking 30 years down the road, but now you're kind of thinking 30 years down the road, right? Like, what's this going to look like?
Absolutely. It changes the way you look at the world and your life and your timeline and everything. It shifts permanently. And I also think, I think of everything through their eyes and through their perspective, like what the world's going to be like for them. And
so how have you changed, I guess, if I were to put it to you that way? How has being a dad changed you? What's rewarding about being a dad?
How have I changed? I think in a lot of ways I haven't changed,
Cool.
To know me, you know what I mean? The same guy. I'm the same guy within my band and at my shop and on the road and at home too. Just, I'm the same guy. But yeah, being a girl dad, I think you've got this mix of, and like, you've got the protective father thing, which is like vicious. It's just, like, it's crazy. Like I was a little more chill than I am now, like without the kids. Like I was kind of like, all right, like my fighting days are over, and like, I'm just trying to slowing down and chilling out and relaxing. And now like you got daughters and you're like, oh,
yep.
And then like, plus like one of my daughters is black and my other daughter is brown. So like I've always been anti-racist, as I've always felt that way. And like when I was a young skinhead, we fought racists. Like we were anti-racist skinheads. So I got that. I was like the little like tough guy thing, whatever. And then that's long gone. That's like me as a 21-year-old or something.
Yep.
Now it's just like back tenfold. Now that like I'm really perturbed by racism, and I feel like these things are being done to my daughter, like, which is, it was always unjust and bothered me that people are unfair to each other, and that this kind of hatred exists and this inequality, and like, how can you treat another human that way? And these things always bothered me, but now it feels more personal.
Yeah. Hits way more close to home.
Yeah. And it's like that coupled with that, like, protective daughter dad, it's like, I can't even really describe it, but like, it kind of boils my blood like all the time. And I'm like, Mom, got to learn how to sort of handle that, because I still keep going. I go back to the old like fighter, like, I'm gonna just fight. I'm just gonna like handle it like by knocking people out, fucking and getting violent. But I can't. Right. I've got to like wrap my head around that and learn to navigate that some other way besides like with a baseball bat or something,
Yeah.
but America's, and it seems like that monster is just like really reared its ugly head in the last 5 years.
Yes.
And it's just like fucking disgusting to see. And I just feel like if you're not part of the solution at this point, then you are part of the problem.
For
it's
sure.
Not enough. It's not enough to just be like, I'm not a racist. Like, you've got to be active. You have to be an active anti-racist. And, and if you can't find something that you can do about the problem, the very least you can do is donate money to people who are boots on the ground, whether it's a politician or some activists that, that have their shit together and are working at the problem. Like, you can always throw a few bucks that direction. Like, that's you giving your energy to the problem, to solving it, so that's something that I've become activated, more than ever, I should say. You know what I mean?
Yeah, as you develop that kind of personal connection to it, like, I think even on a more general level, like having kids makes you think more about community, which I think a lot of us didn't. Maybe you sort of thought about that and you want to do the right thing and, you know, be a good person, but now you're thinking about like, what does this mean to be part of a community and to make that a
Yeah.
healthy community? You know,
Yeah.
and having those conversations with your kids, you must be thinking now as they're, you know, hitting that 2 years old, you're starting to communicate with them. How are you going to talk about those things as they get older and prepare them for those types
There's
of
going to be
things?
there's going to be some real conversations, you know, trying to, I mean, there's going to be a number of conversations, a lot of conversations that it's going to be like, we're going to get across those waters together,
Yeah.
you know, one conversation at a time. And yeah, it's just all part of my experience. It's all some unique things to my experience being a multiracial family. I obviously think about diversity, like in my own community, and surrounding them with diversity and taking them places where Nicole and I are in the minority, you know, like just immersing ourselves, you know, more into that whole culture and not just like, this is the punk show, like this is your punk uncles at the punk show, like that's part of their tribe, but like their tribe needs to be a little more than that too, you know. And so broadening our own sort of personal community has been a thing that we engage in.
And taking you out of your own comfort zone for the, you know, for the benefit of your kids and stuff. I think that's really cool. How do you guys do that? Like, so you've I guess in terms of finding those experiences and finding those opportunities for your kids to engage in sort of maybe a different community than you would have typically engaged with.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's all right here where we live, and it's just a matter of like tuning our frequencies a little bit and looking for different things than we used to, and just kind of going there, you know, and just like whether it's like an event in a park, in, you know, in the next neighborhood over, or in block parties and things like that, and just meeting people, you know. We don't fuck with church, but church would be a great one for that, but
it's not your thing.
No, we just don't fuck with church. It's not my thing. But yeah, we're still constantly looking up and finding things like that, you know, and like just every Black owned business and things like that. We've just shifted, you know, our whole sort of like way of doing things and what we look at and where we look and what we do all the time. That's always part of the consideration. And it's, for me, it's very exciting. And like, I didn't realize like how sort of narrow my world was, and I'm super proud of like the punk rock community, and especially the Bouncing Souls community. I'm super proud of it. It's like the best swath of people like you could ever know. I'm just like, because we put that out there in our words.
Positive, right? That's super what you guys are all about.
So like I'm really proud of that, and I'm like proud to share that with my daughters, like, and it's going to be great. But also like there needs to be more people that look like them, you know, and that for whatever reason doesn't exist that much in the punk world for whatever reason. I mean, it does, but those bands, you know, you can find bands that aren't all white people. There are fewer of them, but there's still plenty of them. I live, you know, in the Northeast, where it's the most sort of diverse part of the country, maybe East Coast and West Coast, and we wouldn't live anywhere else for that reason. Like, can't, you know what I mean? Like, the Jersey Shore's got a good like mix too of people, and that's something that I couldn't, daughters or not, like that's why I live here for a reason, you know what I mean? Because it's like a quote unquote blue state, and you know what I mean? Like, because it's diverse. That's just me anyway, you know? So we're halfway there. There's just a lot further we can go and should go and will go. And it's a matter of unwrapping and you know, peeling up layers and just exploring and going and doing stuff.
Yeah. You know? And your kids give you that little bit more, kind of light a bit more of a fire under you for some of that stuff, right? Like,
absolutely. It's
another
my job.
reason. Yeah.
Yeah, they're the reason. They are the reason. And it's great to have such a reason. And it's great to do this anyway. So I'm just stoked about it all. I love it.
That's
And like,
awesome.
yeah, and it's like whatever. I mean, every new thing I discover like that is new. And so that's like, that's inspiration, you know? That's what keeps you a lot, like that's kind of like, that's the wind in my sails,
Yeah.
inspiration. So that's cool, because otherwise it's the same old pattern, which, I mean, 32 years, still great, don't get me wrong, but I'm ready for something a little different myself, you know?
Right.
So it's rad. It's really rad too. And Nicole came from the punk scene too, my wife, you know, that's how I know her. So we're both already progressive minded people, but like, and so we're both like really stoked about exploring and kind of broadening our horizons, and like, and especially getting a little more culture in our lives.
So you've got more wind in your sails these days. So what's next for you? Tell me what's going on. Bouncing Souls, your tattoo shop,
all those things are all firing, man. They're all firing. Bouncing Souls, we've been writing songs for months now, once a week, using technology.
Oh, cool.
You know, just it's a little corny, but I mean, the whole band can get together via Zoom. But Pete and I live nearby each other, always have. And so that's where it starts. And we write, we get together and write, and then we'll Zoom George and Greg, and we'll all be together, and we'll be like, check out those riffs, you know, and then we'll talk about a song. And Greg's been writing a lot of lyrics, and like we actually just wrote 10 songs based on 10 different Souls fans that we've met. It was part of the it was part of the thing that we did in response to the pandemic and not being able to tour. We created a Patreon thing where like people could subscribe at different tiers, and and you know, it's like, oh, listen to us bullshit on our podcast thing on Zoom, and or you can watch it, and then we'll include this and this and this, and at the next tier we'll include these other things. And at the very, very top tier was all the things on the lower tiers, plus these other merch items, plus we will write you your own song, press it on a 7-inch vinyl, and give it to you.
No
so
way.
There was 10
I didn't
spots.
See that.
Yeah, there was 10 of those spots were available, but I think that there was like a glitch, so there's actually 11. So 11 people subscribed, you know, at that tier for 1 year, and you know, stuck it out for the year, and then it was time to write them their songs. And so we would have a Zoom meeting and just have a drink with them, each person one at a time. We got into this rhythm, like on a Wednesday night we'd meet people, meet a person, have a Zoom, like bullshit with them until, like, ask them questions about their lives, like get to know them a little bit, jot down some notes. And we gave Greg this job. He's the scrivener, and he's a great songwriter, obviously. And so he threw together something, and we just kind of like all like compared notes, said goodbye, thank you. The next day, Pete and I get together. We write a song musically. Then we would Zoom George and Greg. Here's what we've got, you know, and we'd talk about Greg's word ideas, and we'd assemble a song basically. And everything was on very short. We had no time to get in our own way, because it was like being parents, you know, like just all the things that are in the way. So we do this in like 2 hours time, 12 to 2 on Thursday, every Thursday, 12 to 2. We'd get all this done, and then Pete and I would record guitar and bass, send it to George. George would track his drums over it, send it back. Then we would like tighten up the guitar and bass and do a final, and Greg would sing over it. And then Greg would sing his, you know, and then we'd go back to Greg and be like, how about this, try that, you know, but all remotely and all like basically on these little short, tiny bursts. And then we'd record it at Pete's studio without fussing too much. And it's just kind of like, not like the big over the top production, just pretty simple. And we have 11 songs now for those folks, and to be pressed on 7 inches, which they will get, and then probably take the best of those or the ones we like the best, maybe take a couple of them towards a new record.
Yeah.
And we're also keeping this pattern going. So we're still getting together every Thursday. We're just writing new songs just because we're sort of in a rhythm. So we've been creative and active throughout this whole fucking pandemic. So since like so the Souls haven't slowed down even a slight bit. And then we're going to keep that going, and we're going to go in the studio, I think, in January.
Okay.
And record a record. So we're going to record a record. We're like business as usual. We got shows, within reason, we're touring a lot next year. So Bouncing Souls are 100% normal, active. I have total anxiety about leaving the babies.
Right.
And going away for like a fucking 2-week tour. Like Cora needs me to tuck her in, it's a long hug and it's a whole process. So that's gonna suck fucking assholes when I have to leave my family. But I fucking love tour, and I love playing shows, and I love my brothers, and I love being on tour. So it's just gonna suck and be hard, especially for mom and the kids. And Pete and Greg have already been dealing with this.
Yeah, you've got some good advice from them, I'm sure, on how to handle that.
It'll be a lot of FaceTime, a lot of like, hey, from tour. But so that's the Souls. The Beach Rats wrote an entire record during lockdown because we're all local. So we were getting together with masks on in Brian Baker's basement.
Yeah.
For 1 hour a week after work. Again, like busy people style. We don't have the luxury that we used to. We're just like dick around in a jam room all day. So again, like I think you get more, you accomplish more when you have less time. Because you don't squander it, you don't fuck around. Like
you don't get in your own way, right?
No, can't get in your own way. We get together in a 1 hour practice. We'll write a song, and we did that every week until we had like a record worth. We went in the studio. We recorded a full length record. This was almost a year ago. This was November. And we're like, oh, this record's fucking awesome. And then we just sort of like didn't see each other for months. We just kind of like, oh, we did something cool, and we just kind of like blew off everything. And then we kind of like circled back 6 months later, like we should put this out, and we
what are we doing
what
with
label? I don't know. So then Baker it's so simple. Baker talks to Brett Gurewitz because they're in Bad Religion together, and he's like, hey, give this a listen, and like gave him the record. He's like, yeah, I want to sign you guys. So it's funny. I think Brett was like, I want to sign you guys before he even listened to the record. And then he listened to the record and he's like, oh shit, this record's great.
Yeah.
So they're
awesome.
They're really excited over at Epitaph. We signed a contract, which is also sounds so 90s. Like we signed to Epitaph.
Yeah.
So there's a Beach Rats record that is being mastered. Because we had a finished complete record, mixed, finished, but just needed to be mastered. So it's being mastered. And it's going to come out, I think, this spring on Epitaph, and it's fucking awesome. This record is awesome. So we're really excited about that. I've got a really killer artist working on the record cover, Timothy Hoyer, who's like one of my heroes in the tattoo world.
Okay.
Yeah, check out Timothy Hoyer.
Timothy Hoyer.
Check out, Timothy Hoyer. I think his Instagram is simply Timothy_Hoyer, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, he is gonna paint us a record cover, so it's gonna be as awesome as the record. Really proud of that record. So we're sitting on that. That's coming out in the spring.
Cool.
Tattoo shop has never been busier, and so I own a tattoo shop, but it's really just me and Rich Cahill. It's not that, it's like a 600 square foot shop, so it's not huge. I originally designed it to have 3 stations, but Rich and I are just so comfortable in there just with the 2 of us. So essentially it's just me and Rich, and with a third guest artist kind of coming in and out here and there. There's always a third person, or not always, but sometimes a third person. But essentially it's Rich and myself, and we're both booked out. Like I had to close my books. I've never been that guy. I've always been booked out like a month or 2, which is nice to always have that demand. But then like, I think due to COVID, like the demand went through the roof last year or this past year. by April, like by the end of March, I was booked out to the end of the year. And I was like, this is just man. This is insane, because my life is now like spoken for. My entire year belongs to other people, and I can't and luckily there wasn't a lot of touring activity, but everything that would come up, like the band would get an offer and everybody wants to do it. And I'm like, well, fuck, I gotta find homes for 20 appointments, like, because I'm going away for like a week or two or whatever. So I was like, I can't keep, plus like the family wants to do something, but daddy's like tied down. Right. Can't go do anything. So then I had to close my book, stop taking appointments, and like I figured out a way that I can just book myself 3 months at a time and close the book again. Yep. And then open it and book 3 months and then close it again. I have to like control the flow. Right. Exactly. So I can like kind of like maneuver and have some maneuverability when band things come up and family things, So in other words, that tattoo career has never been better. I'm super grateful. All that demand, So it's cool. It's good, because you need to be able to count on an income when you have a family to support. For sure. It's not like fun money, like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna buy another motorcycle. Like, the money isn't for me. It doesn't go, it just goes into the like void of family expenses. Yeah. That's amazing, man. Sounds like things are rocking and rolling for you. And I saw Bouncing Souls, you're booked up for quite a few dates 2022. You've had a little bit going on 2021, but you guys have lots planned for next year. So it's going to be an interesting year as your kids get older. You're getting out on the road more. Start bringing them with. Busy. Yeah. I kept pulling the kids out of school because daddy's like going playing some cool festival. Like, you're coming to England. Like, we're going to Rebellion Festival or whatever. Like, they'll get to see. Yep. Hopefully, get to see a lot of the world this way. Yeah, and we've talked to other people who've done that, right, with their kids. I've even talked to there's one dad we talked to, Jason from Mates Estate. They brought their kids on their tour sort of for a whole tour, and they brought along sort of a nanny, and like they were just sort of part of it. Like they had on their rider, like, we need these items for the kids. And so you can you can make it work, right? Like there's lots of different ways to do it. So it's exciting. Little creativity, be like, all right, we're a band of gypsies now. Like, these are your gypsy other kids. Like, this is Lux, this is Ever. Just go. 2 boys and 2 girls we have. It's gonna be fun. It's amazing. Well, Bryan, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with us today and talk about your experience. It's been awesome talking to you. I really appreciate your time. Well, thanks for having me. Yeah. And I just wanted to ask, do you have any kind of words for dads out there listening, or maybe soon to be dads? I don't know. It's like the greatest thing I've ever done. And I've done a lot of fucking great shit. It's the greatest thing you could ever do. Just be stoked. Just be stoked. That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. There's lots of things there's lots of things on people's minds as they become a parent. You worry about things, but man, it's just, it's awesome. Yeah. Don't get caught up in worrying, man. Live in the moment. Like, enjoy those moments. They're fleeting, Yeah. Look, I'm doing it. I'm saying the same shit that everybody said to me. There's something fast to it, I guess. It goes by fast. Yeah. Oh yeah, but it's true though. Just enjoy the moments. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I loved your idea of, and might even steal it for myself, kind of documenting, kind of making a point to document for what your kids are up to and what their interests are and things like that. I think that's a great idea for people out there, because that's, if you can do it twice a year, even, it's a little harder to recollect everything. The fewer, the less frequent you do it. But if you did it quarterly, it would be easy, Right. Just jot down notes, man, and pictures, and then boom, done. Yeah. That's amazing. Thank you so much, Bryan. Appreciate your time again. Yep. It's been great talking to you. And thanks for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Nice to talk to you. Yeah, you too.